Hi, my name is Georgia Coles, and I'm really happy to be introducing Caroline Culpepper. I'm lucky to have gotten to know her better in government and history classes, and she always speaks intelligently yet unpretentiously in them. However, for me, what first comes to mind about Caroline is that she is most definitely genuine, and her authenticity seems effortless. Without fail, she often asks everyone how they're doing, not as a formality, but out of genuine concern. I can't wait to hear the words Caroline has to share with you all. So, without further ado, the intelligent, kind, and genuine Caroline Dupree Culpepper.
I love stories. Mysteries, romance, dramas, I love them all. And while all of these stories are great, I wholeheartedly believe that the best stories are our stories, the stories of our lives. I believe that we have no control over how our stories begin, end, or even how they will change throughout our lives. But I would argue that every single story and every single plot line is significant. October 11th, 2011. Fall break of my 7th grade year had just begun. For most people, this fall day was the beginning of a much-needed break. But for me, this was the day that a new part of my story began. Sitting in the hospital bed that morning, I remember thinking about everything that had led me to where I was now waiting on this bed for the doctors to stick holes in my back. I remember the years of watching my brother as he was treated for cancer, and how just a month before, he had looked at me as I walked in from school one day and told me that I was the perfect match they needed for his bone marrow transplant. And now, after a month of blood tests, counseling, and days spent at St. Jude, here I was, being wheeled into the only non-kid-friendly place in the hospital. White walls, scary machines, and dozens of doctors surrounded me. And for honestly the first time throughout this whole experience, I was afraid that something bad might happen, that what I was doing wouldn't be enough, that I wouldn't be enough, and that this part of the story might not end up the way everyone hoped it would. I'm pretty sure that the anesthesiologist could tell how terrified I was, and he looked me in the eyes and said, "Don't worry, Caroline, we're going to take care of you and your brother." In that moment, in that one sentence, I knew that this man was God's way of assuring me that everything would be all right. But my family's happy ending made me think about all of the stories in which the ending makes you weep. It made me think about all of the kids that were sent home, about the ones that didn't get to hear the doctors say, "We'll see you in 6 months." As much as these stories break my heart, I am grateful for them. They inspire me. These families and their stories, the ones that I know, and even the ones that I don't know, have contributed to part of my story. If it weren't for these many stories intersecting in this one place, my story would not look the same as it does today. The way these people lived out their lives impacted me in ways that they will never understand. A conversation with a mom in line in the cafeteria, a random volunteer attempting to put a smile on your face, and an anesthesiologist simply trying to calm his patient down. These are the small things that impacted me in a big way. These people were just doing what they were doing. They were just living their lives. It was nothing special to them, but it made all the difference in the world to me. Each thing you do, every word you say, whether you realize it or not, is a scene in someone else's story. Yes, giving my brother bone marrow is my story, but it's also the story of one of the strongest little boys I know. It's the story of one of the best and most encouraging sisters in the world. It's the story of 2 parents whose faith and love never failed, even in the midst of uncertainty. Each of our stories is somehow intertwined, and this, to me, is what makes each and every story beautiful. Every part of your story is significant, and you never know how much your story, big or small, can impact another life. The truth is, you may never get to see how your part in someone else's story plays out, but find joy in the fact that you are changing lives, maybe even the world someday, one story at a time. Someone once said, "We have the power of the pen, yet seldom do we understand the power it truly holds." I challenge you to recognize how much power your pen has, how much meaning your story holds. Thank you.